All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our um, interdepartmental seminar. We are very happy to be with you today in the seminar. Let me share my screen. Let me see. All right. Okay, this is fine. All right. In today's seminar, me, Asil Özdoğru, and our Ibrahim Ozdemir, we will be talking about psychology, philosophy, and an environment. And as you see, and as you know, our title is Ecopsychology, reinventing the human nature relationship and its meaning for our well-being. And we are doing this especially in the observance of wildlife conservation and world soil space that I will be also talking to you about. And today's seminar will be about half an hour long. In the opening, I will talk to you about 15 minutes representing psychology side of things. And then I will leave it to Ibrahim Hoca for 30 minutes. And in the remaining 15 minutes, we can have questions and answers for anyone who would like to have a contribution. Okay, so let me start with my part. I am a faculty member in the Department of Psychology, and I am an educational psychologist, but also I'm very interested in environmental matters. From time to time, we talk with Ibrahim Hoca about these environmental issues, and a month ago, while we are talking again in this kind of a conversation, I said, why don't we have a seminar on this? Because he is a well-known speaker, well-known author on these issues, and we are planning to organize English language events. So we decided to have it, and here we are. And as I was looking for dates to have our event, I seen that there is this Wildlife Conservation Day celebrated on December 4th, which is today. And this day is a day commemorated by World Wildlife Federation and United States. In 2012, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, she was first to offer this date to be the Wildlife Conservation Day. So since then, every December 4th in United States is celebrated in this kind of a day or commemorated. And we have also a World Wildlife Day, which is on March 3rd, that is recognized by United Nations. United Nations also recognizes tomorrow, December 5th, as the World Soil Day. So in that sense, I think we are in a timely period to talk about these issues, about soil, about wildlife, and about environment. And if you are interested in environmental matters, you might have seen the news that came out just 2 days ago. And in that news, Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, talked to media, and he talked about the environmental problems that we are facing. I quote what he says. He said just 2 days ago, "Our planet is broken. Humanity is waging suicidal war on the natural world. Nature always strikes back and is doing so with gathering force and fury. And here, I think, as you may make the connection, he is referring to also the problems that we are facing in relation to these environmental problems, changing climate, and even the pandemic that we are living in. This pandemic is even have a lot to do with our relationship with the nature. So in that sense, Secretary General has said it very clearly, our way of living in this planet is not going in a good way, and it's similar to committing a suicide. We are betraying our planet. And he says in his address, we need the American leadership. And if you are again following the news, you may know that the outgoing American President Trump, he withdrew United States from Paris Agreement, which was an international agreement on reducing carbon dioxide emissions and making countries more green. And he took United States out of that agreement. And incoming president says nice things about that, and we hope that United States will be again leading the world in terms of these better directions with the nature and environment. United States, in that sense, is a big power in technology, and in science. Psychology, my field, is also very much dominated by American scientists and American outlets. And when we look into what's happening in the United States in terms of psychology, we can have an idea about what's the current situation and what's the future directions in relation to the science of psychology. As our students would know, psychology is a very rich field. We have many subfields, we have many areas of specialization, and we have lots of different kinds of psychologists. And American Psychological Association, for example, have 54 divisions, each of which represents a different branch of psychology. And in that group of fields, we see environmental psychology as an important field in psychology, where people study this human-nature relationship, human-environmental issues. So psychology has also lots of people who are studying these issues in a more scientific perspective. Our title of the day, which is Ecopsychology, is a different version of environmental psychology. That one focuses more on the therapeutic approaches and use of nature as a therapeutic intervention, bringing people to natural environments and hoping that they will heal and that they will get better in terms of their problems. There are many other environmentally focused psychologies within psychology, such as ecological psychology, population psychology, conservation psychology, and depending on the major questions, psychologists focus on different aspects of this human nature environment relationship, and they try to make this world a better place for all of us and for our future generations. Because we are primarily responsible in protecting our environment, our nature. If you check on the statistics, you will see that, for example, this carbon dioxide emissions that are leading us to a worse future in terms of climate change and natural disasters. This carbon dioxide emission is mostly because of human activity. Our activities in relation to production of food, construction of homes, our transportation with cars and planes and everything. These kinds of activities are almost 80% of this carbon dioxide emissions. So we are the primarily responsible group of organisms which we are sharing this world with other organisms. Environmental psychologists and other psychologists who are studying topics in relation to nature focus on, for example, environmental behavior, pro-environmental behavior. This kind of behavior is things that we do to protect our nature, our resources. And the 3 R's are very popular in many places that you may already know, which are recycle, reduce, and reuse. And if we engage in more of these kinds of activities and behaviors, we may be more environmentally friendly, and we may again help this world to heal and leave a better world to our future generations. When researchers look into what makes people to engage in this pro-environmental behaviors, they find that intentions have big power. Our intentions have a very close relationship to our behavior, our personal norms as well. What we accept as normal, what we accept as acceptable. So our personal norms, our intentions, our attitudes, these kinds of factors influence our environmental behavior a lot. And through these kinds of seminars, classes, courses, we try to help our students to learn about these issues and become more environmentally friendly. Again, it is something that we all can contribute. It's not only up to certain organizations or big governments. Every one of us have some level of responsibility that we can contribute to healing of the environment. And with that, I will be concluding my remarks, and I will be leaving the stage to our beloved Professor Ibrahim Ozdemir. He is my next door neighbor on campus, but today we are in separate buildings in different parts of the city because of the pandemic. If you don't know him, he is a well-known scholar. He is the head of philosophy department in our university. We are very lucky to have him. He is an expert in theology, philosophy, and he studies topics in relation to ethics and environment. He appears in national and international media, including European Union magazines and Al Jazeera. And he has many books. 2 of them recently came out. First one is Meaning of Life, Mevlana and Confucius. And the other one came out just last week, Environment, Human, and Our Responsibilities. Both of them are in Turkish, and we recommend those to our Turkish students. They will be very delighted to have that perspective from Ibrahim Hoca. And again, I will leave the stage to him to tell us more about these issues. And if you have any questions to me or to him, we will have questions at the end for 15 minutes. So thank you for your attention. And now it's for Ibrahim Hoca. Hocam.
Thank you very much, Asil. This is very good for this good introduction, and also having me here to be. Always it is good to be with Asil, a young professor, you know, an eager professor, just burning for learning every day. We are talking a lot about philosophy, about psychology, and then we come to the ecopsychology, then become like neighbors and relatives. And I wish a good day for all of you, and healthy day, healthy weekend. All this weekend we will be at home, and we will once more realize how nature is important for us. We cannot live without nature. So today I will talk about, let me share my screen with you. Yes. Yes, here is my screen. Yes, as Asel says, I will talk about ecopsychology, reinventing the human-nature relationship and its meaning for our well-being. Why reinventing the human-nature relationship? Because we lost it. With modernity, since 18th and 19th centuries, we lost this or connection with the nature because of the modernity. This is why all ecologists and environmentalists, they start their job with a critique of modernity, what is modernity is. Let me tell you a story. I just wonder if who read this book, Man's Search for Meaning. Okay. And an introduction to Ecotherapy and Viktor Frankl. He did more than 4 million copies in the English language alone. And it was also a lot of, new edition in Turkish. So you can, who read this book, please write in the, send a message to me. It was in a Nazi camp where all Jewish, it is Auschwitz in a Holocaust camp. And Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. He was also a doctor there. He was taking care of the inmates. He tells a story about a woman. The story of that I witnessed in the concentration camp. It is a simple story. There is a little to tell, and it may sound as if had invented it. But to me, it seems like a poem. This young woman knew that she would die in the next few days. But then I talked to her. She was cheerful in spite of this knowledge. I am grateful that fate has hit me so hard, she told me. In my former life, I was spoiled and did not take spiritual accomplishments seriously. Pointing through the window to the hut, she said, "This tree here is the only friend I have in my loneliness." This is where it turns our subject. Through that window, she could see just one branch of a chestnut tree. And on that branch were two blossoms. I often talk to this tree, she said to me, Dr. Frank says to us. I was startled and didn't quite know how to take her words. Was she delirious? Did she have occasional hallucinations? Anxiously, I asked her if the tree replied to her. She said yes. Yes, it said yeah to me. It said to me, I am here. And what did it say to her, the tree? What the tree told to this lady in the concentration camp? And she replied, the tree says to me, I am here. I am here. I am life, eternal life. This is the message of today. Are you aware of this? There is a life outside, in the nature, in the forest, in the parks, in a beautiful day. I was living in Finland for 2 years as a visiting professor there. But now, November, December, or January and February is the most difficult months of the year. Because every day we wake up on a gloomy day. Everywhere is dark, and just the sun is rise up at 9:30, and it sets at 3:30 or 3:45. So it is dark, it is gloomy. You can see, you can feel how nature has an impact on your psyche, on your well-being, let me say. So we invented in the 21st century, in fact, since 1960s, we began to understand the impact, the interconnectedness of human being to his or her environment. So we coined the term ecopsychology. What is ecopsychology? It is ecos, it is psyche, it is logos. Ecopsychology, knowing the earth is the home to our soul. We belong to the earth, to nature. Nature does not belong to us. You can buy a home, you can buy a car, but you can't buy the nature. You can't, although you can, land, but still it does not belong to you because you cannot sustain it. You need the sun to warm it. You need water to water it. You need air, fresh air, for your vegetables, for your animals on your farm or on your land. So we have to think about the logos. What is the meaning of nature? Who I am. So psychology in the service of the earth for the first time. If you read Freud, you can't see anything about what's the meaning of nature, what is our connection of the nature, etc. Because his great contribution was to discover our subconsciousness, or psyche, or libido. You see, a lot of problems. He just turned inside of the human being. But it is with Jung we came out. The psychology came out to look at the symbols, to the nature. See? So we have, in spite of modern delusion of alienation, of separation from the living earth, the human beings are not aliens. We are not aliens on the face of the earth. Human psyche too is earthborn, the result of 4 million years of continuous evolution. The complex, exclusive biological in the matrix, the grounding of any sane psychology. The humans affected the earth environment, and it in turn affects us. You see, this is protection of earth, or earth environment must involve both science and psychology together. Yes. So we have, modern psychoanalysis and existential therapy. We human being creatures of alienation in a hostile world, hostile universe. If you look at the Sartre, if you look at other existentialist philosophers, even in Freud, we are aliens on the face of the earth. Everything is enemy of us. Theodor Rosa, the author, highly recommend to have this and treat it. It is one of the pioneers of eco-philosophy, eco-psychology. I will share a link of his interviews before he passed away in 2011. Rosa's psychology that fails to examine ecological relationship is incomplete. I want to repeat it. It is very important for you as young and eager students of psychology who burn for learning. A psychology that fails to examine ecological relationships is incomplete. He points to the anthropic principle in cosmology as providing a central place for human beings in the universe. The Gaia hypothesis in systems theory evokes lyrical poetry that the planet itself may be viewed as a conscious, self-regulating being. Just yesterday, I read a new article. It's just defending that the nature is organic. It is not matter. It is not. It is a living thing, entity. So Rozak proposes that in all psychological depths, we are deeply connected with nature. He suggests that a greater balance with nature will accompany healthy relationship between the genders and the greater individual psychological health. Yes, here another eco-psychologist, it is Andy Fisher. I just have 2 of his articles today. He's one of my colleagues on Facebook and also on academia, and he's a very young scholar like Asil. And he says, a new field that places all psychological and spiritual matters in the context of our membership in the natural world. Ecopsychology is a project to reimagine the psyche in light of an ecological view of reality. Thus, to transform through it the theory, practice, and self-image of psychology. Such an ecologically revisionist psychology is psychology for the current historical moment, with all personal, political, and planetary challenges we now face. Just look at here. There's a diagram, you know, ecopsychology is at the center, and it has a lot of implications. It links to the ecotherapy and nature connecting, and also nature spirituality, deep ecology, depth and transpersonal psychology, environmental activism, experiential environmental education, conservation psychology, and human ecology. So it is a new field for you. You can excel, you can study this topic for your future studies, but also for your own well-being, because, you know, it is ecotherapy also is a part of this. In Finland, you know, because we have so many gloomy days, so many dark and long days, if you go to people, very often they go to their psychologists, or they visit their psychiatrist, because, you know, they can't walk. So they give them prescription. Please go to Turkey, Italy, Greece, you know, Greece or Spain for a holiday at December. Spend your New Year's, vacation in a sunny country, so you feel better. They understood the impact of ecology on human well-being very well because of these gloomy and dark days. So, you know, the mission of ecopsychology, as proposed by Rozak, was to validate that an emotional connection to the nature is normal, healthy, and doing so to help the environmental movement to be more effective by appealing to these positive ecological bonds rather than promoting conservation based on messages for fear or shame. Just remember, I said the Finnish doctors, they prescribe their their patients to spend their holiday in a sunny country. They don't write down just medicine. Okay, so if you go visit a beautiful sunny country, then you will feel the impact of environment on you. Please don't neglect this. So ecopsychology can be differentiated from other psychologies of natural environment by its focus on the holistic, embodied, and existential aspects of human connectedness. Just, you know, try to drink a dirty water. Try to just, you know, to eat decayed food. How it will affect your health. This is why we use water, you know, we use bottle in the bottle, drink water in the bottle. We just look at the healthy water, healthy food. You see, this is why, because it affects our very health. So we have to be careful about all this. We have to think about all this. And, you know, let me just little bit speed up. And Jung was one of the first psychologists who understood the whole picture. Scientific understanding has grown, so our world has become dehumanized. Jung says, man feels himself isolated in the cosmos because he is no longer involved in nature and has lost his emotional, unconscious identity with natural phenomena. These have slowly lost their symbolic implications. Keep this in mind, because I will give you some examples from the poetry of Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, as December is his month, okay? Because no voices now speak to men from stones, plants, and animals. nor does he speak to them believing they can hear. Remember how a woman in a concentration camp survived because of she can talk to a tree, and she says tree can understand me, hear me, and she also claimed she can hear the tree. So Jung says, you know, the mother man, we don't no voice, we don't hear any voice from stones, plants, and animals, nor does he speak to them believing they can hear. His contact with nature has gone, and it has gone to profound emotional energy that the symbolic connection supplied. Just consult Approaching the Unconscious, it is page 85. To be sure, among their various sources, ecopsychologists have drawn heavily on the Jungian or archetypal thought. The clearest example of which is Rosak's positing of an ecological unconscious. So, brief history of ecotherapy. In the 1960s, the Back to Nature movement began. In the 1960 Wilderness Act presumed the need for people to enjoy natural spaces as a requirement for mental and physical health. Last Child in the Woods by Richard Lowe, updated in 2008, greatly increased the awareness that children spend less time in nature today, leading to obesity, ADHD, and poorer general health. By the 1990s, the concept of ecopsychology and our need to heal and be healed by the planet had become more widespread. Today, ecopsychology has developed into a discipline with college textbooks and graduate programs. So we have, you know, because of sustainable farming, local food movement, organic gardening movement, alternative energy movement, environmental awareness movements, all is a result of this awareness. Again, let me point to a you know, groundbreaking book on the subject, The Non-Human Environment. In 1960s was birth of environmental consciousness. Let me remind you, Rachel Carson wrote The Silent Sleeping in 1960. The psychoanalyst Harold F. Sears published a book that received a much quieter reception, a thick volume entitled The Non-Human Environment, you know, in normal development and in schizophrenia. So the non-human environment in this book, this is guiding idea of the book. The guiding idea of the book was, you know, whether we are aware of it or not, that non-human environment, the trees, clouds, raccoons, rivers, skyscrapers, and manifold other non-human phenomena that weave together as a larger matrix for the affairs of humans. If we lost our connection with this, the wider world, we will have some health problems. You see? So there is a good example from the book. Somebody says, you know, please find the places that bring tears to your eyes, touch your heart, and where you feel at peace. Allow these places to bring forth your love for this world, and let this love show you how to protect and care for this earth. You see, please find places that bring tears to your eyes, beautiful places, like in this picture. Please don't let others destroy such good places. This is the gist of environmentalism, environmental activism. This is the world we will live. This is the world your children, your grandchildren, gonna to live in this world. So we have to take care of our environment and natural protection. So also there's some pioneers, you know, there was a physicist and systems theorist, Fritjof Capra. Ecology and spirituality are fundamentally connected because deep ecological awareness ultimately spiritual awareness. He's from California University. He's a pioneer in this issue, and all his books is also translated into Turkish. So there is also, two other men I have to mention. This Paul Ehrlich, the main hope for changing humanity's present course may lie in the development of a worldview drawn partly from ecological principles. And also Mirza Eliade, the religious behavior of human contributes to maintaining the sanctity of the world. Here we will come to the Rumi, you see, because this is one of the greatest scholars on the history of religions, Professor Mirza. He says, we have to discover the sanctity, the sacred dimension of the nature, of the world. Here we have Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi. He passed away in December 17th. There will be celebration in Konya on December 17th. Okay, so the excellent Rumi, as Hegel called him, the German philosopher Hegel says, the excellent Rumi. He has always been loved and cherished by poets in the West more than anyone else. He inspired leading Western poets and thinkers such as Dr. Johnson, Goethe, Emerson, Walt Whitman, Robert Graves, Doris Lessing, to name but a few. For the German poet Hans Minker, Rumi was the only hope for the dark times we are living in. Keep in mind these guys, especially my Turkish students. How much you know the Rumi? This Franklin D. Lewis. He has been reading and writing on Rumi since he was 13 years old. 13 years old. He discovered Rumi very early. He devoted all his life to Rumi teaching. And again, a French writer, Maurice Barres, remarked, when I experienced Mevlana's poetry, which was vibrant with the tone of ecstasy and with the melody, I realized the deficiencies of the Shakespeare, Goethe, and Hugo. And Erich Fromm, psychoanalyst, a philosopher, a sociologist, a man of, great man of 20th century. He also read Rumi very well. Just in 60s, he wrote this, you see. He says, Rumi, the mystic, poet, ecstatic dancer, was one of the great lovers of life. This love of life pervades every line he wrote, every poem he made, every one of his actions. He was also a man of profound insight into the nature of man, human being. He discussed the nature of the instincts, the power of reason or the instincts, the nature of the self, of consciousness, of conscience, and cosmic. He discussed the problems of freedom, of certainty, of authority. In all these areas, Fromm says, Rumi has a great deal to say, which is important to those concerned with the nature of man and well-being of the human being. So, let me just also remind you, sometimes I think in Turkey we have to be ashamed of ourselves, who don't know who is Rumi, who don't have read any of Mesnevi and Rumi's poems. This Mary Oliver just passed away last year. She's a great poet of American poet. You see, most mornings I am up to see the sun. That rising at the light moves me very much. I am used to think and feeling inwards, so it sort of just happens. Those mornings moments are a kind of prayer for Oliver. I think one thing is that prayer has become more useful, interesting, fruitful, and almost involuntarily in my life. You see the impact of nature on a poet psyche. And when I talk about prayer, I mean really what Rumi says in that wonderful line. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. That's it. We belong to the nature. Nature is our mother. You see, Rumi invites you not to humiliate the earth, the nature, make it a dirty place for living. exploit all natural resources, don't care about the well-being of your environment. Rumi says to you, there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I am not theological. Specifically, I might pick a flower for Shiva as well as say 400 psalms. And you know, in another interview, she once again says, I read Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet, every day. Could you imagine an American well-known poet starting every day, her day, with reading a poem from Rumi? You see, they ask the books, they interview her, they say, anything else you are reading? I read Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet, every day. How long have you done this? That, about 10 years. They invited me to give a talk at New York City in 1998. It was my third visit to the US. I was a little bit uncomfortable to talk to American audience, you know. Then I went to the conference place earlier, and there was a bookshop. Then I saw a lady is holding a book on Rumi. It was, you know, a lady maybe over middle age and with thick glasses. I didn't tell her I am the speaker, Ibrahim Ozdemir. I said, ma'am, how long have you been reading Rumi? And she looked at me and replied, more than 10 years. And I couldn't keep myself. I said, why you are reading Rumi since more than 10 years? Because I just feel happy. Rumi connects me to the nature. Rumi connects me to the birds. Rumi connects me to the life. Then I say, that's okay. Since then, I am also reading Rumi so much. Okay, please. As Andy says, we often forget that we are nature. Nature is not something separate from us. We don't own nature. Nature owns us. You can't buy nature. So when we say that we have lost our connection to nature, we have lost our connection to ourselves. You see, Rumi says, just look at the Rumi dance, Sema. They are just, you know, turning in the direction of the universe, in the direction of the world, the planet Earth, in the direction of the sun. All is it is so a cosmological dance. And Rumi says, you know, I was that, I became alive when connected to the nature. I was weeping, I became laughing. The power of love came and I became everlasting power. My eyes is situated, my soul is bold, I have the heart of a lion, I have become shining Venus. You see, everything becomes for Rumi meaningful. There is not a thing but celebrates his praise. This is from the Quran. You see, then with this lens of the Quran, when Rumi look at the universe, look at the nature, everything, he can hear the voice of the birds, the voice of the stones. I will give you some examples. The seven heavens and the earth and all this therein declare his glory for Rumi. There is not a thing but celebrates his praise, and yet you understand not how they declare his glory. So you see, even, you know, birds, everything celebrates his praise. Rumi says he can hear their praise. And his poetry thus is nothing but an attempt to speak of God's grandeur as it reveals itself in the different aspects of life. God is the sustainer of all realms of beings, and he creates a sustenance out of love. God is not static absolute, but a perpetually gushing fountain of eternal life, manifesting his majesty, wisdom, knowledge through the universe. For Rumi, God wants to be known, so manifests himself out of his eternal qualities. So if you connect yourself, if you understand nature, then you will understand the creator, the sustainer of the universe. Then you will discover your wholeness. Okay? Asil, when we like, I can stop. Then we will give space for the questions. I think I just have a few more slides. I'm just finishing. Okay.
How much more slides do you have, hocam?
3 or 4.
Fine, we can have 3 or more.
Okay. Yeah. The whole world is a majestic garden for Rumi. Every leaf on a tree and every bird in a bush offer praise and thanksgiving for God's greatness and sustenance. Just remember what Dr. Viktor Frankl says in the concentration camp. A lady who connects with the tree, converse with the tree, survived, endured everything in this camp. But Rumi is just teaching us every leaf on a tree, every bird in a bush offer praise and thanksgivings to God for God's greatness and sustenance. Every leaf and tree is a messenger from non-existence, proclaim the creative power of God, talking with long hands and green fresh tongues. You see, this is the beautiful garden of Rumi. And, and for Rumi, earth, water, fire, and air are alive in the view of God, though they appear to be dead to you or to us. Never think the earth is void or dead. It is a hair, it is awake, and it is queering. It is moving every single moment. Everything happens according to the divine will and wisdom. That is, a great plan is at work in the cosmic world. Even beasts build their houses by inspiration from God. So, in short, a colorful, meaningful, and living world reveals itself in his poetry. It is up to you to discover it or not to discover it. It is for your goodness if you discover it. It is for your well-being, and also the well-being of your people who comes for your help. Let me finish here. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will try to answer. Thank you, Asil, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, hocam. This was very informative, very awakening. We heard many good things from you today. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and giving us your time. That was very much appreciated. And like I said, we can now have any participants, if they have any questions, comments, before we finish. Anyone, any questions, they can speak up or write in the chat room, please. Hocam, you also mentioned you were gonna give a link to a book.
Yes.
Or
I
something.
will. Yes. Maybe
you can share that at that time.
Okay.
Hocam, maybe I can ask you something in relation to these issues.
Yes.
Since you've seen the
please.
Finland and other countries, and you also know Turkey and Turkish people, why do you think we in Turkey are less concerned with environment, and we are very easy to pollute? We are very easily throwing things on the street. Why do you think Turkish people are in that way different than the other people in different countries?
Yes, thank you very much. It's a very interesting and very good question, Asil. And always they ask me these questions wherever I go. I think one part of the problem is education. We just, our educational system, it does not connect us to the nature, Mother Nature, let me say. Because even Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi uses the term Mother Nature. But in Finland, they start to teach their children they're a part of nature from the kindergarten. So then it becomes their habit to enjoy nature and also to protect nature because they believe they are a part of nature. But you know, up to recent years, you know, we don't care about nature. It's nature. Why to care about it? But guys, they are poisoning the water you are drinking. They are poisoning the food chain of the food you are eating. And they have a lot of consequences for your well-being, for your health. So we have to educate ourselves. We have to educate our children from a very young age that we are connected to nature. Anything happens to nature, it will happen to us. You see, for example, when in agriculture, when they overuse the pesticides, they will poison the products, crops. Then they will this poison will go to the water, from the water to the seas, and from the seas the fishes in the rivers, the fish in the seas, they will be poisoned. When you buy fish on the market, you don't know you are poisoned. Your poison is returned home back to you. So we have to develop a perception. This is why I say ecopsychology is a holistic topic. We have to think not only ourselves. We have to think about our garden, about our animals, about our air, water, everything, because everything is connected to everything else. You see, we just put this mask to protect ourselves, okay? Just to protect myself, and also as a respect to protect Asil or you, as a respect for yourself. So we have to protect ourselves. We have to protect nature not only for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. Just keep in mind, think about 2070, 2080 years. You are 50, you are 60, you are 70 years old. You have grandchildren. Is there be a clean air outside? Is there be clean waters in the rivers? There will be clean seas we can swim. Think about that. Yes, what else?
Jam, one of the participants wrote in the chat room, you can also read. And that's something I also heard from people in social media when I post this event. People think that we individuals don't have much power. Governments, corporations, they have big responsibility and they have a big role in this environmental problems. So how can we change this kind of a perception? What can we do to make people feel that we have some power?
If we are a democracy, we have power. If we are appreciate, we understand it. Politicians, they can play with us. They can give us misinformation, but they have to be, you know, smart citizens. We have to be careful. We mustn't let them to treat us like we are fools. We are not fools. Okay, this is what is happening why Mr. Trump is lost election in America, because he don't care about the environment. He don't care about climate. He said, I don't believe in climate change. It is fake science. It is fake news. But people who care about their children, about their future grandchildren, they voted against him. No, somebody who says, I care about environment is in power. This is the only democratic solution. We have to join all our forces. We have to be, conscious, alert citizens. If there is something is happening, we have to fight. We have to fight for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. There are many power-hungry, rich companies. They don't care about your environment. Maybe sometimes they can buy, or they can corrupt the political system, as we see in some part of the world. But we have to be, if we inform citizens about environment, about the impact of environment, the value of environment for us, then we can protect it by any means necessary, like Malcolm X says.
Okay, thank you, and that's also a message I share when I talk about these issues. We at the individual level can do what we can by engaging in these pro-environmental behaviors, and also by contributing to the organizations, civil society organizations that work on behalf of us with environmental issues. We can make donations, we can go and volunteer for them, and also make our voice louder for politicians to hear, and get into ways that will conserve the nature and will heal the nature. There are things that we can do.
I think all my friends, students, they know about Greta Thunberg. It's a Swiss girl. It's a Sweden girl, 16 years old. When she started her campaign, she was 15 years old. And many people, they just laughed her. But she was serious. I just followed her campaign. Last year, I visited Maldives Islands, and also I visited to give a talk at the UN assembly in Nairobi. And on Friday, the Kenyan students, they were on the streets to support Greta Thunberg. Why? Because her message was universal. She said, I care for African children too. I care for Muslim students, children too. I care for everyone, not only for white, European, or American children. I dream a future, a healthy future for all children of the world. This is why her message in just 2 years reached more than millions and millions of people. And she made a remark, you see, she gave a very good lesson what can be done. We have to be positive, we have to be smart, and we have to be courageous, you see?
And I think we have to be organized, like
yes,
support each other and get into good cause. Okay, great. Thank you, Hocam.
Yes, there's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of organizations. You can be part of them, and even there's international organization, environmental groups. Because one part of environmentalism is you are universal. You see, it is a universe. We, as I say very often, say we are all on the same boat, on the same ship. This is planet Earth. You see, so when you see the Titanic was drowning to the ocean, the orchestra was playing Beethoven. They don't care about the problems happening to the ship. They said, no, our job is just, performing music. But in just 5 minutes, all they're just at the bottom of the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. But if there are some problems happening to our nature, to our environment, for our own well-being, for our family, for our children, grandchildren, we have to say stop. We have to find sustainable ways, sustainable, procedures to use natural resources, sustainable energy resources, renewable energy resources. Yes.
Thank you, Hocam. Thank you. Anyone else before we finish? I think we are beyond our time. It looks like that's all, Hocam. Thank you again for being with us today. It was nice to see you. Nice to listen to you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for
being. It's my pleasure. I wish all of, yes, it's my pleasure. I wish all of you a pleasant, healthy weekend at home.
Thank you, Hocam. Thank you. Thank you to participants. Like I said, we will try to publish this recording in University Culture course. We hope to see you sometime in future somewhere. Take care of yourself and take care of the nature. Be in peace. Bye-bye.
Bye.